spoke recently actually with Rachel's husband, Andrew, and one of the tweets that I mentioned that I thought was kind of strange coming from you was that basically you said evil comes from women. Andrew, in his interpretation, he made a very rational, very nuanced, actually, this is what she means. Is it not true that there is a lower moral bar for women, blah, 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 and it, Andrew's a smart guy. It made a lot of sense. That's not what the tweet was. And kind of funnily enough, you tweeted out later to clarify, Lauren, that yes, evil does come from women.
Yeah, well, because I would just look at every problem in society. It all comes from women.
To be fair, I just realized this the other day, but did you know that Hitler was made by a woman? That proves it.
Well, it's like you look at the homeless. Most of them come from single mother homes. You look at school shooters. Most of them come from single mother homes. You look at criminals, rapists. Most of them come from single mother homes. You look at what happens when women get power. So when men get power, they build societies, they do awesome things. When women get power, we're just not very good with it.
I just brought up Hitler. I mean, I kind of feel like there's a lot of bad dudes, you know?
Well, yeah, but there's also bad queens, right? If you look at queens the last 500 years, women are more likely to wage war. Women are way more violent with power, and we see that in society. Look at what women are doing in the court system today. What is more evil than breaking up a family? And women do that all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say most problems in society come from women.
So that's interesting because I watched your conversation with Michael Knowles, which I thought was really interesting. And in it, you were very adamant that people need to take responsibility for their own actions. So when it relates to women, it's not really an excuse to say, oh, well, feminism brainwashed me. You still made the decision to sleep around. You still made the decision to get an abortion.
I think if you get an abortion, you're responsible.
Okay.
Right?
Shouldn't we have that same standard when it comes to the rapists, the men? You made a decision, you're responsible. It's not really like, oh, but my single mother. Like many people have.
And they are responsible. They go to jail for it. But you have to look at, there's significant differences between single mother and single father homes. And I can't help but notice that all of the men that seem to lack morals, they were raised by a woman.
Right, but is the answer then that evil comes from women? We are kind of leaving out the fact that, yeah, a man actually left the parent or his family in that situation.
Well,
there are some situations where a woman doesn't want the man there.
But most of the time, men don't leave. Women are the ones that overwhelmingly leave. And if you really dig it, if you actually do the work and interview men that are the known to be like deadbeat dads, most of the deadbeat dads don't really exist. They're exceptions, they're not the rule.
So,
and if you actually do the work and interview these guys, there's men that have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars fighting for their kids. And unfortunately, we're in a society where women can claim abuse. You know, they could say he emotionally abused me and not see his kid for years.
Real quick, what's the stat? I know that there's stats on women initiating divorce more, but how do we say that, fatherlessness is predominantly driven by women? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, because women are choosing to leave, and the number one reason is irreconcilable differences.
But that's when you're talking about single mothers who are a result of divorce. If we're looking at single mothers who were never actually married, it's a very different group of people.
But the whole point is women have all the power here. We have a million choice. You get to choose whether or not you get pregnant. Abortion's legal. So we are 100% in control of who's born. So there is zero excuse to make a kid with a guy that's not going to stick around. Zero excuse.
I would also say there's zero excuse for a guy to not stick around.
Well, but the issue you're getting is
because you're basically saying, but what about the women though? When we're talking about the man
But the difference is men cannot opt out of fatherhood. Women can opt out of motherhood.
And I think we would both agree that you should not be able to opt out of motherhood.
But
right?
we can, and it's not my point. But should whatever. Abortion's legal. It's here to stay. Unfortunately, I don't say this because I'm happy about it, but I mean in the UK they're introducing a law where they want to make it legal up to birth. So abortion is legal, and right now men are not able to opt out of fatherhood. Only women are.
Only socially, not physically. Women in the United States overwhelmingly have the right to abort.
Correct.
Or are allowed to abort. Men don't have any say whatsoever. But socially, I looked it up it says, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20.2% of fathers, about 7 million, are absent dads. They don't live with their minor children. So
right, but why?
Right. So this stat doesn't literally mean that 20% of fathers are like getting up and saying, later kid, I'm going to buy scratchers, and then disappearing. But my point was just that of this, you have men who are like, okay, you're having a kid, I'm leaving, you'll never see me again.
Well, but you don't understand the circumstances, because a lot of times women make men dads that don't want to be. They're like, this is something casual. This is, situationships are really common. They know that man will never commit to them, and yet they still make the choice to have his kid. I think in those situations, if we can legally opt out of motherhood, they should be able to legally opt out of fatherhood. We have all the power now. Don't make a kid with someone that doesn't want to be a father.
I see. You're saying
I think that applies equally to, and this is why I don't advocate for promiscuity. Don't sleep with someone that you're not prepared to have a child with.
But should. But what's happening?
Is what
that's like, this isn't a dream world. This isn't like Make-A-Wish. Society promiscuity is going to go. It's not. So I'm talking about what's happening. Go ahead.
Are you saying that a woman who sleeps, like, let's say a woman, we'll start light. She sleeps with a guy, gets pregnant, and then realizes this guy will leave her, doesn't want to be a dad.
Yeah.
You're saying she should get an abortion?
I'm not saying should or shouldn't. I'm saying women have the choice to right now. Men do not have the choice to opt out of fatherhood. Should or shouldn't, it's almost like, okay, I mean, this is where I get frustrated with conservatives. It doesn't matter what I say. Women are going to abort their kids. It's not going to become illegal. So if we're in a society where we can legally not be mothers, If we don't want, why can't men legally not be
No,
fathers?
I get that.
Yeah.
But the question I'm thinking of is you're putting a lot on women as those who are responsible for single parent, like single mothers. And what I'm trying to understand is you're saying because women can choose not to be a mother.
Yeah.
You said something to this effect. And the guy can't. That means the woman has decided to have a child knowing the man will not be there.
At times, yes. At times.
So I guess my concern then is like, let's say there's a woman who deeply loves a man.
Okay.
And she says, let's get married. And he says, yes. And then they do. And then she says, oh, hey, on our honeymoon I got pregnant. He goes, no way, I'm not doing this. I never wanted to have kids. I'm filing for a divorce immediately. What is the option? Does she get an abortion or does she become a single mother?
She can pick what she wants.
Right, but
my point is,
that doesn't put the responsibility on her. It puts it on the man.
no, I still think it's on her because we have 100% control. You can track your cycle.
So
you have Plan B. You have. So again, if
Right, she married a guy she loved. She thought they
Okay.
would have a family, and then he betrays her.
okay, I've never met a chick this happened to that had like a real story with facts and evidence. I've never met one. So it's not overwhelmingly happening. That's one. And two, you generally, if a man marries a chick, he wants to have a kid with her. Generally speaking.
Generally,
Yeah.
I do agree. I think.
But again, shouldn't, I think that if women have the right not to be mothers, men should have the right not to be fathers. So if he wants, he should be able to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this kid's life. I want to opt out of child support for 18 years. You want to have the kid? Good luck. I don't think that's correct, like morally, but right now we can do something. We can get abortions. We can opt out of motherhood. They should be able to opt out of fatherhood.
I mean, they can't.
Point blank, right is right and wrong is wrong. Legitly. I will not completely agree with her because, yes, that is morally wrong for people to do as people. But I can agree with her because that is the steps we have to take with the actions that we are left with as men. Like when she said the deadbeat father shit, yeah, that's phony. You have to tell the actual story. It's like no dude, I've always said no dude is just up and running. It has to be more than that. Even if he's just young and he's scared. That's a story that will tell why he chose what he chose. Legitly. So that argument is technically dumb. Because when you start talking about situations like that, you have to break down both characters. You feel me? Now, with the fact that evil came from women, I'm not going to side on either which one. I'm just saying if we're talking scientifically and women came first, then obviously it will come from you. If we're talking Bible first, and women came first, not even women came first, and women were the one that got tricked by the serpent, I'm not going to say no more than that. The comments are always open for you to say something. You feel me? It's just crazy to think about because it's like, yo, we have been on this planet supposedly for 24 years. Let's say more than half of that we had enough knowledge. Our knowledge is growing day by day. We're doing different things, learning different things. But we had enough knowledge to get to this point, and the only thing that is halting us is the way somebody acts. Now think about that shit. Like we have the knowledge, but because of a couple selected few people who want to think a different way than everybody else, now we can't be as smart as we can. Well, as smart as we are, not with that we can, as smart as we are. This shit is funny to think about because when I start saying shit, they be like, oh, you're feeling, oh, this, oh, that. It's like, yo, we're talking about right and wrong. Leave your feelings out of it. Because if you start bringing feelings into it, we not going to be here for too long. Any sane person is not going to argue with you about this situation when they know right from wrong. It's like she's not wrong. She's not. None of those things will happen. None of them things have came up. But the ones who has happened and has came up, I'm not trying to point a finger. I'm trying to bring y'all into the loop and be like, yo, we got to make y'all better. But I can't force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. So prove me wrong and I will gladly be on your side. But if you can't prove me wrong, you got to switch sides. Take these and have a good day.